The sun has left and forgotten me.
Your stories don't define you, but how you tell them will. Hi, I'm Sarah Elkins, your host and chief storymaker at Elkins Consulting. Today's episode is a long past due introduction to me and the work I do to improve communication at work, which has lasting and far-reaching effects for my clients, their organizations, their careers, their families, and their communities. Please listen till the end so you can hear how I'm celebrating my 5-year book anniversary starting today. Now, I plan to practice what I preach by telling you what I do without actually telling you what I do, by sharing stories that demonstrate my work and my impact so you can come to your own conclusions. After all, telling people I'm an effective and engaging speaker, coach, and facilitator doesn't make those things true or compelling, but sharing the right stories will. The majority of my income is a result of the workplace communication training I do using Gallup's StrengthsFinder or Clifton Strengths assessment. I recently contracted with an employee-owned, mid-sized engineering firm with offices across the Northwest of the United States to provide one-to-one coaching, team workshops, and event sessions at their larger meetings. They've been using the StrengthsFinder assessment for years, so when I started my work with them in late 2023, the majority of their employees had already taken it, but the organization hadn't contracted with a coach to help them realize the full potential advantages of being a strengths-based organization. So why now? Because they're growing, and they don't want to sacrifice their strong culture of caring and developing their employees. Why now? Because they're growing and they don't want to sacrifice their strong culture of caring for and developing their employees. They weren't sure there was anything they could do about the potential churn as they grew, the loss of some of their best employees. But contracting with me is an effort to integrate this tool more fully into the culture, ensuring managers and leaders have the resources they need to fully support their employees as the organization expands. I have to tell you, it's pretty refreshing to work with a company so devoted to their people. Last week, I had 3 one-to-one coaching sessions with members of their C-suite. Each signed up for time with me because they want to be good leaders. They want to better understand how their talents can best be used, how their communication can be clearer and more transparent, and how the talents of the members of their teams can be best developed and nurtured. During one conversation, I heard, based on my strengths, Sarah, am I the right person to lead this team? I mean, I don't have any of the executing domain in my top 5, and it seems like that would be necessary as a leader. In my many years as an employee with a variety of supervisors, I never remember one asking me if they were a good manager. I never heard a micromanager say, I'm a micromanager, or a bad manager say, I'm just not a good manager. And there I was, hearing these words from my client that were like music to my ears. I answered, Bill, the fact that you're asking this question makes you a good leader. The efforts you've made over the years to learn, to grow, to develop yourself, your self-knowledge that you have room to improve, that's what makes a good leader, not your approach to problem solving, which is what your StrengthsFinder results actually tell me. You've been using your own tools in your leadership style, not someone else's, and that's what's made you successful to this point. I have 2 questions for you. When you left jobs in the past, why did you leave them? He said, because of the manager. And I said, that's right. That's the most common reason people leave jobs. Here's my next question. Have you experienced turnover in your department? Have people left other than maybe for promotions? His answer was no. He's had the same staff for years. And I said, well then, Bill, I'd say you're doing a pretty damn good job of leading. I sensed his relief immediately, and we opened the worksheet so he could see the top talents of the members of his team so we could discuss the likely communication expectations and needs of each individual. Now, I've had much harder clients for sure, the ones who don't believe they have anything to learn or don't choose to make an effort to use this tool, or they just don't see the value in improving communication at work. And truly, I love my challenging clients. Like one in the early days of my StrengthsFinder work. He walked into the room of about a dozen of his team members, sat down, and crossed his arms in front of him. He was leaning back. Even his legs were crossed. In case you missed that, his body language was pretty clear. He was not interested in anything I had to say. And after I introduced myself and explained why I use this particular assessment in the communication training workshops that I host, he said, "Nothing personal, but I just don't buy into this stuff." I answered, "Jeff, I'm not asking you to buy into anything. Either it's accurate or it's not. If you don't believe it's accurate, we have nowhere to go with it. But if you think maybe it's accurate, you have a choice to either understand your talents and where they might get in your way, or to ignore how this can help you improve how you communicate." He looked around the room, probably trying to find an ally among his teammates. I said, "Jeff, these are your top 5 talents." I walked the group through a very brief description of each, demonstrating how they're different from other people's results and how Jeff's talents are likely to show up in communication. "So, Jeff, do these feel accurate to you?" The group's heads all nodded enthusiastically, and Jeff grudgingly nodded as well. I said, to the consternation of his boss, "Okay, Jeff, let's do this. We'll take a break in about an hour, and if you don't find any value in this, you can leave during the break." He nodded. His arms were still crossed. His boss, sitting behind him, was shaking her head no, worried that he was going to leave. At the break, Jeff walked up to me briskly. I thought, well, I guess it didn't work. I assumed he was coming to say goodbye and thanks anyway. But he didn't. He was a little sheepish, looked down, and he said, "Can my wife take this?" Those are 2 examples of the work I've been doing with clients for the past 6+ years. And I think they're good examples of how powerful this tool can be and the benefits my clients have experienced in working with it and with me. I have hundreds of these stories after working with 25 teams and well over 1,000 people. What's important here is that you've learned a lot about me in these stories. And not just about my work. You learned what matters to me, what I find memorable, what I find rewarding and impactful in what I do. I can share stories about keynote presentations I've given, the awesome storytelling workshops I've hosted, the podcast episodes I've recorded, and plenty of personal stories that demonstrate who I am, what I'm good at, where my challenges are, and what matters to me. That's the power of storytelling. So listeners, now it's your turn. It's my gift to you to be your guide in collecting, practicing, and sharing your most meaningful stories so you have the tools to choose how your internal messages and internal dialogue shape your future. So you have the tools to improve communication at work and at home. And so you have the tools to advocate for yourself and others in the form of the most effective communication in connecting authentically with the people around you through story. As I mentioned, I'm celebrating my 5-year bookversary starting today. Your Stories Don't Define You was published May 31st, 2020. Starting this podcast was a wake-up call for me. I realized that I was coaching my guests in sharing their pivotal moment stories, and they were finding great value in our time together, way beyond any promotional opportunity the podcast was offering. The book is designed to guide readers in collecting and sharing their stories with exercises and worksheets throughout. To celebrate this bookversary, I'm offering to sign and ship copies from Montana to you. And every purchase will include an offer for a 20-minute bullseye story mining session. In 20 minutes, we'll uncover at least one meaningful story for you to fine-tune and use for your next interview, team meeting, speaking engagement, networking event, or maybe it's a date. I really appreciate your support over the years, and this is my way of giving that back. Thank you for listening to Your Stories Don't Define You, How You Tell Them Will.
That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.